So as part of that, so first and the foremost is where we can implement these security measures. So this is where there are mainly two places. I mean, we can say 2 or 3 places because the data will be associated with both infrastructure and application. So mainly at infra level and application. And when we come to this application and the infra level, the most automated thing we achieve in the agile world is DevOps. And for that, we need to implement DevSecOps. So where the security has to be integrated strictly with the DevOps things. And we had some use cases recently, like where we implemented for a few healthcare companies, like where the healthcare companies has to do frequent security assessment risks both at the infra level and also at the application level. So mainly when we do infrastructure as a code while provisioning the infrastructure. So during that time, we follow the security policies where we run the policies as the code. And similarly, we also, once the infrastructure is provisioned, we run frequently the infra compliance risk assessment things. And then for that, we use some tools. So where the tools will be studying in the next slide, next coming slides. And similarly, once the infrastructure is provisioned, then during the build, so for example, this build will happen for the application related. So the application also has to be securely, thoroughly assessed. So during that scenario, so whenever the build happens and when the code is deployed to test server or stage server, so our dev server, so there will be some kind of tools, I mean processes, security processes, like static code security testing, similarly dynamic application security testing, which is called DAST and SAST. So SAST is for, so it will identify any vulnerabilities in the code, or even there is one more for complaints like SBOM and SCA, like composite analysis, software composite analysis. So that will determine any kind of libraries which are deprecated and that cause some security attacks. And similarly, DAST is one which is when the application is being executed or when in the runtime environment. So any kind of attacks are possible. So all these type of checks will be happened at DAST and SAST level and SCA level. So all this will be integrating with our DevOps pipelines. So in order not to miss any of these assessment tools, if you do manually this, there is a possibility of missing. So that is the reason in recent for our healthcare projects. So we have integrated this as a part of our automated pipeline only, so that there will not be missing any of the security phases, so that we adopt actually. So otherwise, in manual process, definitely there will be we might miss SAST and we might implement DAST, or we might miss both SAST, DAST, and SCA. So, but if you implement this as a phases in every step of CI/CD pipeline that we do, so we'll not miss anything. And then once the application is being deployed to containerization or a non-containerization, even at the infra level, we do the security checks. Like at the, for example, if application is being deployed in EC2 instance, so at EC2 level, we do right from the OS level checks, and any vulnerabilities are there. Similar to the container, when it is deployed as a Docker containers, we do the container level security during that time. In addition to that, we also do kind of container image validations, Docker file validations, which we are going to see in the next slides. But this is our, so and what we have developed this as a kind of a framework, and we reuse it the same framework for different projects in our healthcare domain. So this framework will act like a service. So when we say service, this is a kind of a module. So where we can use or right from infrastructure as a code provisioning to CI/CD integration and reporting the assessments and security risks. So all this will be part of as one bundle that can be expressed service. And everything, the configurations that we do required for a project specific, that we externalize it, the configurations, so that tomorrow when we want to integrate for other project or other customer, so we just change that in the configurations so that we don't need to change in the framework or anything. So that will start from starting to ending, and it will generate all the reports for us. And even this is integrated with some alerting and notifications immediately. Any security violation, immediately that will be triggered to the team so that they will take care of the corrective actions.
Right.
So that is what.
Yeah. So yeah, just to like comprehend, basically we call it DevOps accelerators internally. These accelerators help any product company and any company to easily onboard or maybe easily plug and play this kind of a service within their infra. Of course, some project level or application level configuration might need based on how exactly the application is built, what kind of a, architecture it is, whether they are using containers or not. So whatever like service we have, it is kind of easily can be added in Jenkins pipeline or any other CI/CD tool that the product customers are using. But yeah, the end result is reports of different reports which can be visualized in Kibana or any visualization platform easily, because these reports are having a standard output format like JSON or CSV, and one can easily read and actually figure out the issue.
Yeah.
So moving to next slide, which is more on like how exactly at CI/CD level we have different frameworks or different tools we use to this security audit and security scan. So this happens mostly on every build that we do on different environments. Some of the scans we do like infra level scans we do only on a stage and prod, uh, but others majority of scans we do on the all the three or four environments which are relevant. Any quick thoughts, Kiran, here? You want to add anything?
Yes, Praveen. So, for example, yeah, as you mentioned rightly, that this is being done at different phases, like so deployment. I mean, when before deploying to dev or test. So what we do is once that pipeline gets triggered, then it will execute SA and SBOM, which I was telling you, like composite analysis that detects the library, deprecated libraries or old libraries, and generate a report. Uh, and similarly, SAST is also, which I was telling you, and which is part of the static code security testing. And then we also do kind of it, for example, this is containerization based approach. This is one where we do Docker file scan. And then once Docker file is built and it creates an image, we also do a container image scan. And also, then we also do the signing of the container, because why we do the signature means so that if an attacker also in between introduce some malicious malicious kind of container image, so there is a possibility of so that malicious container image can run in place of our actual real container image as a container. So container signing will prevent that, will validate that. I mean, it will identify the trust of that, because signature is a kind of a digital signature that in the kind of a security world. So container signing will help in such a way to trust the actual container image. And similarly, we also do the kind of scanning at the manifest file scannings, like deployment fan manifest file scannings, and whether it is following the best practices. For example, we should not use a kind of base images always. Actually, it should be like kind of the latest images, everything. So all that part of the Docker file scan and manifest file scans, we all do that. And once we deploy that to the runtime environment in the compute layer, so then DAST, IAST, and CAS and infra scans are being executed thoroughly. And any violation in this, any failure in these or anything, we immediately have a integration to this report tracking tool that will actually generate the reports. And through the reports, we constantly monitor any violation checks and all that.